own space, justice is a long way away.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie Podcast. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian. Joining me, as always, is your co-host, Spaz.
What were we talking about?
Your co-host, Julie.
Welcome from the great north where spring has finally sprung.
I miss seasons sometimes. Your co-host, Thorsten.
Oh, I'm just taking a break. Hello.
Your co-host, David.
Reporting for duty, Commander.
And Jacob said he'll be a little bit late, so he'll be joining us mid-show, which is one of the things that can happen when you do these things live. Well, hopefully he can make it. Something must have come up. We don't know what. So, folks, we have a topic today. I've got some guests in the... I almost said in the fire. I've got some irons in the fire, really. I've sent out like things to some guests, and I'm just waiting to hear back. So until we get confirmation, we're probably going to keep doing topics. But so today we have a topic, and I thought about this one last week because last week at the end of the week, I was so tired. I was exhausted from a very busy work week, and I was like, maybe I just don't want to stream next week. Maybe I just need a break, to focus on work, but I'll see how I feel as the weekend went. And when the weekend happened and I got some rest, I was like, I'd rather stream than take a break. But it got me thinking about how therapeutic breaks can be and how useful they can be. And I wanted to talk about a couple things before opening it up to the rest of the group. I took a break. I wanted to tell my quick story. I took a break from video gaming entirely in the mid-aughts. I took a break from video gaming for about 2 years because I just ended a long and toxic relationship, and I wanted to focus on therapy. And for years, I had been using video games as an escape rather than like a source of joy. I was using them as a way to escape the toxic relationship I was in and the rest of my PTSD-related anxiety and depression that I really wasn't dealing with. So, I stopped playing games for, a couple of years. And that's why on the stream, I've got a game up called Star Trek Legacy that I did not play when it came out because I wasn't playing games at all. I completely missed it when it came out. And I really don't think I missed anything in that regard. But when I came back to gaming, it was like I rediscovered the joy of it. Like I had lost the joy of gaming in the need to escape, in the crutch that I had made gaming in my life, because it was a crutch, and I had made it a crutch. It wasn't gaming's fault; it was my fault. And so it was great to come back to. I missed a lot of games. I've played a bunch of them since, but I think it was a great thing that I took that break at the time. And this topic also came up because so many times I've seen on message boards and Reddit and whatnot, where people will be like, I'm not getting any joy out of games anymore. Like I just load up a game and I stare at it and I don't do anything. And I always tell them, take a break. There's nothing wrong with walking away. If you come back, great. If you don't, that's fine. Sometimes it's okay to run out of joy of a thing or to walk away from a thing for a while or period, really. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today because I think breaks can be a good thing. And so I wanted to ask you guys, my co-hosts, have you guys ever taken... I'll start with gaming. Have you guys ever taken a break from gaming entirely or a specific game and then come back to it later?
Got a specific game?
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I mean, if you please elaborate. It's not a yes or no question. I'd like more.
But I mean, maybe we're going in order or something like that. I don't know.
No order. There's no order. I know we usually do a round table for these kind of things, but these are kind of nebulous, open-ended questions, so no order.
Nebulous.
Okay.
Hey, Jacob.
Hello, Jacob.
So, Jacob.
Hello, indeed. I'm apparently very stealthy.
Well done. Slipped in like a ninja. I don't know if you heard my question, but we're talking about.
I did.
Okay, good. So, David, you were the first one to chime in, so why don't you start?
Yeah, I don't remember what year that was. I mean, I'm on a break from that game again due to my computer troubles, and by the way, it has grown out of proportions. Anyways, and that's going to be something. What could it have been? Back in 2015 or something like that, when I completely burned out on Warframe. And I couldn't even boot up the game anymore. Do any more? What were it called? Tower runs, working tower runs, or something like that. I guess Jake would probably know. Yeah.
I haven't played that game in years either, but I still remember what those were called.
Yeah. So you popped in, went for a run. Maybe got the RNGs on your side, maybe not. Most often not. So I guess it actually got to me sooner or later. And it took some effort to go back to that game, and that was another freaking effort to go through. Because once again, Jacob here has some experience with Warframe, so you know what I'm talking about. But they replaced all those keys with relics instead, so you had to collect all those void traces and stuff. They also had added the void gates or whatever they're called that linked up the solar system to each planet, so that all planets I previously had unlocked are now locked. So I had to go back, relearn pretty much the entire game how it worked. It felt awful.
I can relate to that game. When it first came out, I played it a bit and I enjoyed it, and then I quickly burnt out on it because it's like I don't mind grind if it feels like I'm not spinning my wheels, but oh my god, did I feel like I was spinning my hamster wheel with that game. And
it's grind for grind's sake. In addition to that,
it's terrible. And so every time they keep adding stuff to it, like they added an open world bit or something, I'm like, okay, I'll get back to it. I have no idea what I'm doing, and there's no way
then they also abandoned said bit. Like, remember Archwing? Remember Archwing?
No.
Hey Jacob, I remember you Lunaro, if anything.
Oh god. Remember all these fun and exciting. Remember the Railjack? Remember that time we got like a 5-player co-op ship mode that they made 5 missions for and then forgot about?
Oh, really? I heard about that. Oh, no.
Yeah,
I was interested in that.
Entire, really interesting game mode, which was, it's called Railjack, where you just like have a co-op ship mission that they forgot about.
Oh,
like
great.
they forgot about just, oh god, so much stuff.
Well, I think what frustrated me about it is when I tried to go back to it, because they'd like, oh, there's a neat thing they added, I'll try it again. There's no way to rerun the tutorials. There's no way to start a new character or anything. It's like, okay, so what do I do? Do I just go in a mission and hope for the best? I mean, I need I could use a little help here, y'all. But they don't care. I would love to be able to just re-roll a whole new character. Other games let you do that. Why can't I just re-roll a whole new character, start from the beginning, and relearn everything? You know?
Make a new account, sort of.
But you really can't, though, can you? Can you do that?
A new account on a new email? Okay, not the non-Steam, but I don't know, actually. I don't remember. No, I might.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, at least the version I have is tied to your Steam account. So you're effed in that regard.
Yeah, that's entirely fair.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a game I've heard a lot of people burn out on because the grind it feels like you're in a giant hamster wheel going nowhere. And it
present company included.
Yeah, and it did not feel long for me to feel that way in that game. Which is a shame because I kind of liked the gameplay. You know, it was kind of the running around shooting bits was kind of fun.
That is great.
But yeah, everything else was like, wait, you want me to do how much of this to get to that point? Okay, I'm no.
And I know when I eventually get back to that game, it's going to be another freaking wall to pass through. Oh, speaking of, they were having a giant update today. Oh yeah. So yeah, I got that to look forward to.
Question mark? Is that a good thing?
Yeah, that's a question mark. I don't know. They added the next open world to the game, by the way. So yeah.
Oh, so another one to forget about in 6 months. They remind me of CCP in that regard. You know, the folks behind EVE Online. They remind me of the CCP.
Speaking of.
That's another game I've taken many breaks from. So Julie, you seem to have one in mind when I brought up this question.
Yes, I have several, one of which I won't steal Jacob's thunder, but the other one is a type of game that I took a break from, and a long one, and I'm still kind of in the middle of.
Okay.
With one exception, and that's I will make an exception for David because I still play a type with him. But I know where it started, and the type is multiplayer, and the game it started with is Ark Survival Evolved. And here's
oh no. Yeah.
Now, back when it was the latest, greatest thing in the block, I played it, and I played it with a group of Australians called the Older Gamers. And we all played PvE, and it was great, and it was a lot of fun. But then as time goes along, right, and they said, oh, okay, we're going to recreate the world. I said, okay, that's good. And people started to take pity on the poor little sing-soul female gamer, and they would like bring they'd say, oh, poor Julie, you know, she can't handle this game because she's a woman, and so they would bring me they would bring and I forget the name of the dinosaur, but there was this huge dinosaur that flew, right? And you could build a base on it. And so I would be there on the beach, and you have this thing where you can't help but crapping in the game. It craps all over the place automatically. And I'm building my little hut. And all of a sudden, the guys who are playing this game, they'd land the biggest dinosaurs in the game and park it and say, here you go. And I said, it gets rid of the whole point of the game. You have just handed me the end game. So it's no fun for me now, right? And it gets worse. It gets worse than this. And this is, we were all playing PvP, and then PvE rather, and then half the players said, oh, we want to do PvP. And the guy who was ahead of the group said, so you want to beat the excrement out of each other, and half of you don't. And so the problem is we can do a PvP part and a PvE part, but ultimately you're all going to start fighting with each other. And it became just that. And so, look, I said, I need a break from this. And I took a break, and I eventually came back to it. And I forget the player's name who started the whole group. And it was something or other bastard, he called himself. And so I started in, and again, the same guy started in with, okay, here you go. I'm giving you all the, I said, no, don't help me. Don't help me. Don't help me. And so the PvP, I said, okay, it's a PvP server, but I'll just mind my own business. Everything will be fine. And it got to the point where I became the sole target of everybody because I was like the weakest link.
Oh, right? God.
And then, but it so happened, I've been playing the game long enough, I knew where all the hidey spots were. And I was just out exploring one day, and I happened upon the biggest tribe's PvP base. And I said, oh, hi. And I said, you know where this is? I said, of course I know where it is. I've been playing the game longer than any of you. And so I worked out a deal. I said, you don't kill me, and I won't tell anybody where you're located. And so, but it still got so bad. Some of the other players who weren't a little misogynistic said, look, we feel bad. We're going to hide you at the bottom of the ocean in our base. And I said, okay. But then the whole thing got into a cycle between these players who would keep playing Ark Survival Evolved, and they would play, and then everybody get bored and go away. Play, everybody get bored and go away. And I get tired of the cycle. And I said, I'm done. I've tried to come back. I've tried to game with you, but I'm not going to do this cycle anymore. And I said, this monster of spaghetti code that you've made this game from is taking up 200 gigabytes in my precious virtual real estate. I said, I'm done. you're done. I walked away from the group. I walked away from the game. I've tried coming back. I said, I'm done. And now whenever I think about going back, my friends all say, Julie, lay down till the feeling goes away. There you go.
Oh dear.
Wow. I only played that game once on a stream, and I found it one of the most obtuse and needlessly busy work games I've ever played. Like,
Plus, the way it's coded is it doesn't need to be I mean, I got a friend that's a developer, and he works for a rival AAA, and it's like he just said, like I just said, it's like the spaghetti coding isn't mine. I'm not a coder, it's his. He said, there's all kind of extraneous code in this game that just simply doesn't need to be here, and it's lazy programming is what he called it.
Yeah. Probably why it's such a big game, hard space wise, because of the poor code.
Now they're redoing the base game, and they want you to rebuy the base game all over again.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they're redoing the game, and they want you to rebuy the base game all over again. And what? I said, I have a bird for you, and it isn't the parrot that's behind me.
Wait, what?
So, Brian, just to give you some background on this, Snail Games, the people behind publishing Ark and a few other recent disasters, they're not so great. Let's just not go into that, because there's a lot of bad blood there.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm used to the whole hand me the end game thing before, because I was, I guess the best thing to call it is a game master for an Ultima Online server. And I would play in the game under kind of a pseudonym. And people would see the whole Sister Julie thing. And so, but after they began to associate, I would play in the PvP part, because Ultima Online, not getting into it, was divided into PvP and PvE. And one person one day does me in without knowing who I am. And then the person who owned the private server told her, the person who did me in, and said, "Oh my God, I've killed a nun." And I said, look, first off, it's a game. Unless you're going to really stop by my house and put one in my head, we're good.
Yeah, so it's sad that the circumstances of needing to take a break of that one, but it sounded like it was probably for the best.
So it's a permanent break.
Oh yeah. What about the rest of you guys? Any games, any specific games or types of games you've taken breaks from?
Well, if no one else is going to speak up, let us break out the obvious one. Thank you, Julie, for not stealing my thunder and mentioning EVE Online. Oh boy. So, EVE is always a game I love to think about playing, because conceptually it's brilliant. It's a game about messing about in spaceships and doing cool stuff and blowing stuff up, and it's an MMO in space. It's very neat. But that's a pretty considerable but, an absolutely monstrous but. It is unfortunately purpose-built to replicate the worst of the human behavior, and as a result, it is often actively discouraging towards anyone towards new people. Does it also help that it's basically unplayable without belonging to a larger group, which took me a while to get used to. So at one point, I just sort of bailed on it. The first time I bailed on it was after I picked it up during the first time it got a trial period. I messed around with it, went, okay, it's kind of neat, and then I bailed because I didn't know what the hell was going on. Then after some time, I got back into it, joined what was advertised as a new player-friendly corporation. Things went fairly smoothly. And I had some fun, but not too much fun. And then I gave up and left. Then I came back a third time, just like, I don't know, Jesus falling on the cross or something like that. Except in this case, I did not die for our sins. I just suffered immensely. Instead, I came back a third time, left the newbie corp because they weren't doing anything, decided to just post on Reddit, hey, any people looking for a corp? Joined up one, went pretty great until it fell apart due to drama and the leader being an authoritarian plonker making decisions behind everyone's backs, which at the time I did not. At the time, I thought was unique and not business as usual for EVE Online, by the way. So that one's on me. So I buggered off to a different corp. Purely at random, having to fly in a tiny shuttle across the entirety of EVE space, which was mildly amusing. Only for that corp to get dragged into the biggest war in EVE history. So I basically did the equivalent of being a perfectly happy, like, I don't know, like Chilean or like South African, messing about. Decided to go on vacation. Decided to go on a vacation to England, roughly in 1938. Things went interesting afterwards. I did actually have some fun, but I also learned the power of time dilation. I was in one of those big fights that people talked about, that like news outlets talk about. They're actually not that very interesting. You just stare at a screen for 6 hours because the time slows down to 10% so the servers don't explode.
Oh God!
So a 15-minute engagement takes like 6 hours.
Oh God.
None of your buttons work. None of your guns actually function. The only thing I had going for me was I played Logistics, which is the healer class in that game. One of the very few people that actually did, and I was as such utterly beloved by everyone because in EVE Online, because dying costs you money, people actually care when they explode. So when you stop people from exploding, they don't just go Lamau get better. I'll take that. Then the war ended, and I went, cool. That was woefully underwhelming. We achieved nothing of note, and I'm just ended up mildly richer off of just. And most of the time, I just spend all I have left to do is just sit there and mine rocks all day. So I left, and that's the end of the story for now.
Oh wow!
If I may,
Yes.
now that the can of worms has been opened, I reached the point where I was semi-infamous, and here's the deal: is I have always loved the industry part. I had my own Chiron, I had my own Orca, fleet of all Hulks, and the deal is I was the industrial side of a large corporation. And
My
then,
condolences.
and then the deal is
That sounds like another job. I'm sorry. That sounds like a
It is.
but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
And I wrote this article for a while. I got paid for writing about video games, and for the website I wrote it for, I wrote called Zen and the Art of Mining in EVE Online, and so the group I belong to, the older gamers, right? There was someone who got banned, not just from the game, but from the group. And he said, I am going to make it my job to make your life living hell and get all of you to quit. And he war decked us for a rock solid real world year and had to have spent thousands of real dollars doing it, right? So the thing is, this is about the same time, and I won't bring up the other podcast I'm on because but there was this guy who created this thing called Hulkageddon. And I said, I've always enjoyed the industrial side. And what this was, for those of you who haven't played EVE, is a bunch of nasty little kids who got together in disposable ships, went to high-sec space, and started blowing up ships just for the hell of it. And when I questioned the person, he said, oh, we're just doing this to get rid of the bots. And I said, no, you're not. You're getting rid of people like me who want to just enjoy themselves. And he says to me, well, I'm doing this for the good of the game. And I said, and here's how I became infamous. And for a while, there was a YouTube video of me out there comparing me to Hitler. And I said, you saying you're doing all this for the good of the game is like Adolf Hitler saying he's invading Poland for the good of the Polish people. And that was just it. I became the target of everybody's ire. I did come back for a while, but in wormhole space where absolutely nobody could get me. But then the whole thing, I finally got tired. My friend said, Julie, lay down till it goes away and you go away. You've got a high stress job as it is. And I just said, we're done. I parked my Chiron, I parked my Orca, I parked all my Hulks, and I went away, and people said, can we have all your ships? And I said, no. What if I want to come back again? And my friend said, don't ever come back.
That's a great story, but it's also a sad story because, like, it's amazing that the sandbox could create stories like that, but it also kind of
happens. It's what happens when you create ANCAP hell as a video game.
Yeah, I mean,
basically, yeah.
I mean, you got to have some moderation.
Well, that was the thing is CP was all in before their game started to go down the toilet and the company got bought. They were all, and I forget the name for it, but they were all for player generated content. And they thought this was a really great thing. And I said, look, you are driving away the new players. And ultimately, and at one point, they had to close down their studio in the States. And, then they'd start driving away all the new players. And there will probably always be an EVE Online because there's always people who want to get together and beat the crap out of each other. So, but,
the phrase you were looking for is emergent gameplay.
Yes, thank you, Spaz. Yeah. Emergent gameplay. And then somebody introduced me to a game called Spaceborne, and I said, why would I want to play EVE Online when I can play Spaceborne?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about...
I don't want to deal with people.
Yeah, exactly. The Spaceborne games are great for that regard because,
Yep.
Oh.
And now there's a second one, which is very good, and I'm most just... See, the problem is I don't want to play it because what will inevitably happen is I play it, like leave it for 3 days, and I'm gonna come back, and it suddenly has like 57 game modes and like 29 different changes, and the map looks different, and I don't know what's going on.
That's why I've shelved it.
Restart to get my bearings.
That's why I've shelved it. I got like 18 hours in. I'm like, wait a minute. He just added diplomacy to the faction system that I just unlocked. Yeah, I gotta step back.
Turns out
for a second.
Turns out you can develop an early access game too quickly. Which is the exact opposite complaint I thought I'd have with an early access game, but here we are.
Oh, that guy. I'm not going to try and say his name, I know, but that
Mr. Beetroot, yes. Mr. Burak off of Turkey.
Yeah, that guy is astounding. He just added another huge patch with like capital ships. He just added ships.
Just added capital ships to his space fighter game where he could also walk on the ground. Just break out everything.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Well, I will say this. To me, it's like EVE Online without all the asshats.
Yeah,
which is very good.
Yeah, there's actually a functioning economy in there, and if that's what you want to engage with, you totally. The Astrox games are also good for that regard. If you want to engage in an economy, but not other people.
Just leave me alone. Let me mine and build. I'm good.
You should try Jumpgate, Julie. You really should try Jumpgate.
Maybe I will. I'm kind of shying away from multiplayer games now because, I've had a lot of people say, this is the best thing ever. And then a week later it says, oh, we're off playing this other game. And I said, look, I'm kind of tired of this. And they put No Man's Sky on Switch now. I'll see it maybe when I'm 90.
Guys, wait until Mr. Dabak introduces you to persistent multiplayer universe.
Oh God, I hope not.
As patch note 24 out of 57.
Yeah,
It's a
right.
random update.
Right,
Don't give him ideas now.
That's what I thought.
Well, Julie, with JumpGate, you don't really have to worry about it because the server population is really low, unfortunately. But that might be a good way to jump in.
Well, I will certainly keep that in mind and send me a link. So maybe that'll be my exception.
Oh yeah, Mozgron brings up X4, which you do play, right?
Yes, and I must say, I was a little disappointed when I couldn't jump right in and play the Bosata race, but that wasn't my fault because in between when I finished the first game and I said I convinced all the drones to invade Earth and destroy everything, and I said my work here is done, and I stepped away from the game. But then they said, in order to want to play the little Bosata race, you have to have play the Queen's Herald. You have to have played the game all the way through. And I said, between then and now, my computer just took itself behind the barn and shot itself right in the motherboard. And so, but I did find a way to hack the saved game. And so now I am busy playing the Boron Herald and playing the cute little Boron Herald and flying back and forth between Bosata, and everybody's saying, "What are you doing in the tank?" "I'm having fun." "Come on, get out of the tank."
All right,
so yes, X4 is the exception. Yes, I enjoy X4.
That's good, especially if you like economy-based stuff, because that's primarily what that game is. So who haven't we heard from? Spaz, I don't think you've said anything specific. Do you have an answer for this question? It's okay if you don't.
I am. I do. Yeah, I'm out of the realm of MMOs, and I have been for several years. I don't plan on playing any MMOs ever again. It's just they got to a point for me where, and I played Star Trek Online for years. I played several other MMOs for just years on end, but they got to the point for me where it felt like a job rather than something to have, something for me to do for fun. So MMOs are just, I'm on a permanent break from them.
Yeah, I can't blame you there. I mean, I think they have a tough job to balance engagement with just almost never-ending content. It's tough, but so many of them do feel like you're spinning your wheels, and I totally get that.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is I can appreciate that. If I wanted to go back and play any MMOs, I could. Sure, I could. But then I have so many games on my backlog, and there are so many games coming out that I would rather just focus on the single player or PvE co-op stuff that we play on the server.
Yeah, and there's quite a bit of that, and just more coming all the time.
Exactly. We have more than enough to backlog for months if we want
years
content for that.
Years, dear Lord. I mean, there's dozens of games coming out every day, and how can we keep track? How can we keep up? We can't.
And I am the kind of player who'll put dozens of hours into a single player game if I am really enjoying it. Like we've been talking on the server about War Tales, and I have about 19 hours in that since I got it.
Oh, how are you liking that?
It's great. The world is kind of grimdark, and there are, even in the starting area, there are two major factions you can work for, and there are shades of gray to those factions. So one faction is the people who live there, and the other faction are a group of refugees, basically. Now, I can go into this without getting into spoilers. So, effectively, some of the refugees have turned to banditry because that's the only option they have. The people who live there don't even want them to be there. So, they're even hiring mercenaries to try to exterminate refugees. So, you decide which of these two factions you want to work for, and you can work for both of them.
Oh.
There are some aspects in which you'll say, well, these are refugees, but they're also kind of starving and desperate, so I can see their point. There are also times where some of the refugees have turned to banditry because it's a very convenient way to make money, and you sort of side with the people who live there. And it's really interesting. Each of the faction areas has these two sides in play, and depending on who you spend more time with, that's who ends up winning the faction war, so to speak, in that area. And that can give you different outcomes.
Actually, that made me nearly stop to play the game. It's grimdark is a bit of an understatement in this game.
Yeah, it is.
Damn.
Because it just of this, I had to restart the game and try a completely different approach to the game, and that currently it works much better for me. I love the game, to be honest. I love it much more than I did expect. And
Yeah.
Let's see how this all works out.
I liken it to Mountain Blade Warband, but on a much smaller scale, because you hire people to your mercenary band, and you're dealing with a squad rather than an army. You could have maybe 20 people in that group. The costs go up for food and pay, of course, as their levels go up. But the fact that you can have an army that, say, for example, has a bunch of wolves in it that you've tamed, and then you sick them on whoever you are fighting against, that's kind of interesting. There are bears you can tame. I've seen people have a small squad filled with polar bears, and that's just really hilarious to me. Yeah, it has a lot to offer.
But the most heartbreaking are the ponies.
Yes.
Ponies.
Ponies?
They look so cute. Yeah, the ponies. They look so cute, and you really have to love them and take care of them.
Oh no.
Well, let me get into this just for a little bit, since we have a moment. The ponies you can hire to your team. You can have several of them, and at the early levels, they don't actually do anything except act as pack horses. But you can train them to be war horses, and they can actually fight with you in combat. And you can use them as tanks. You actually can use them as tanks to help fight. And that's great.
What, the horses?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a thing. You don't actually ride them in combat as knights would, but yeah, this is great. But because the choices matter, every couple of levels you get a choice between different skills. So at the first choice you have to make for the ponies, you can decide to make them into war ponies. Yes, literally war ponies, so they fight with you in combat. Or you make them as dedicated pack ponies, and they don't fight in combat, but they can carry more stuff.
Logistics.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
And you can have some of them dedicated to one or the other. And for all the people in your team, it's like that too. Every couple of levels, you get a choice to make. One choice between 2 or 3 options, so your choices actually do matter.
This is War Tales, right? Am I remembering the name right?
Yeah.
Oh, this looks great.
I didn't know you could tame animals in that game.
Yeah. You later on in the game, it becomes easier to tame them, but if you're lucky, you can get, say, a wolf early on. But then
Yes,
again,
but
they
there's-
don't have a lot of hit points, and they can die very easily.
But there's no riding the horses, unfortunately.
Not directly, no. But
shame.
what's hilarious is that you can tame rats. As in making and breeding a rat army. And
Go on.
people have talked about the idea of using a horseshoe item that you can craft or buy at a stable. And the horseshoe adds 3% to your map movement speed. The thought is putting horseshoes on the rats.
Huh?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Come on, horseshoes. on
Video
the
games, people. Video
rats.
games.
Gotta love it.
It's
Gotta love video
logic.
games. Gotta
Yep.
love video games.
Can you run that by me again?
Yeah, you can also put horseshoes on wolves or on bears. You can also you can also make saddlebags, which add 10 kilograms to your carrying capacity for that animal, and you can also add that instead of horseshoes, so you can carry more stuff.
So you can have war horses you can't ride, and you can put horseshoes on bears.
Yep. Yeah.
It reminds me of a Discworld novel. It reminds me of a Discworld novel where one of the characters, who is a smith, was challenged to make like horseshoes for an ant, and he obviously did it. And you could still hear the ant clink around every now and again.
That's not an army of rats. You're just banging coconuts together.
So
Solo model.
I was wondering how long it'll take for us to do a Monty Python bit.
Here we are.
did everyone answer the question? I Thorsten, I'm not sure you did. Did you?
I didn't, but I don't have much to contribute, to be honest.
That's fair.
It's
fine.
It's like Sin said in the chat. I burn out nowadays very quickly on games, and let's put it that way. It's rather rare that I put more than 20 or 30 hours in a game nowadays. I mean, I've got my games that I play much more. You just have to take a look at my Steam library to find the games with 200 hours or 300 hours plus and more. But I don't take specific breaks from a game with an intention. Let's put it that way. And I rather say that I take sometimes breaks from gaming altogether. When I don't play anything for 1 or 2 weeks. In the past, there was a time when I did actively ride motorcycles. It was mostly in such a way that I concentrated on motorcycling in the summer and didn't play anything during these times, and mostly played video games in the wintertime back then.
No, that's totally fair. I mean, micro breaks, any kind of break, can be a thing.
Yeah, but still, again, I do burn out relatively quickly nowadays, and
Yeah.
It's a thing for me that I really don't play anything for 1 or 2 weeks.
That's totally fine. There's not a damn thing wrong with that. Now, Spaz, you said you had something you wanted to bring up after we got the
Yeah.
we got the topic
Yeah.
going.
And it actually relates to taking breaks, but it's taking breaks within a game using the game mechanics to force you to take a break. And that may not make sense the way I explained it, but it will in a second. Have you ever played a game where you get to a boss, you know that it's going to be a difficult fight, you lose, and then you get sent back to a checkpoint that's several rooms away? It's going to take you a little bit to get back to the fight.
Oh yeah,
all the time.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
That's
Oh, I know where this is
intentional.
going.
Yeah, this is an intentional game mechanic. It's not just to waste your time. People have found that when you are forced to take that time to get back to where you were, to get back to that boss fight, that time in between, going through doing whatever platforming or doing the corpse run, whatever it takes, that downtime where you're not actively fighting the boss again, it gives you time to think about what happened, what you did wrong, what you can do better on the next attempt. And rather than having a save point directly outside the boss room and you jump right back into it, that downtime is to get you to think about something else, because you still have to think about, oh, well, I've got enemies in between here and there, I've got to kill, and I can't just be in boss fight stress mode the entire time. This is actually a way to keep you from rage quitting.
I can kind of see that. I recently ran into that. I've been running into that lately, and the game that's been epitomizing that for me lately is Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which is on the Switch solely. Sadly, it's only on the Switch. But that game has some crazy ass bosses, and when you die, it puts you way, way back in the cut, and you have to go through a bunch of enemies again. But I see what you're saying. That kind of mentally prepares you to try again.
Yeah, it's I guess one way to put it would be like taking a test, failing. And then rather than taking the test again the next day, you got a couple of days to prepare for a retest. It's to get you out of the mindset of I have to be in test mode the entire time. And it's the same thing with boss fights. Because boss fights, because of the multiple stages they take place in, or the mentality that's out of the norm that you have to be in for the boss fight. You can't be in that mode all the time. You're going to overthink it, and you're going to screw up. So you have to get forced out of that mode for a little while.
That's not unfair. I have a hard time doing that though, because I just want to run back and try and kill again.
Yeah.
Right. And that can be a difficult thing for people who have less patience.
Hello.
Exactly.
I feel targeted.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It can be difficult to do that, but when you persevere through all of it, every reattempt where you iterate on what you did wrong, it's not just looking up a guide and using that. You actually have to know what to do, and the process of failure, it builds you back up. So that when you've actually been through it, you can say, "Oh, I earned this."
Actually, when I've encountered such kind of pacing, it made me step away from some games entirely, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what.
It's just an conversation from why it's a subjective feeling. But I had this several times that I was set back and thought, no, isn't it worth now? And let's do it tomorrow. And well, it was never done again.
Yeah, that happened recently with me with Elden Ring. I was because I'm like I usually don't like these guys' games, but I will try the open world, and it's a great open world. But then you hit a character, you hit like a boss character, and you die, and then you go back to like what the hell is it, a campfire or some crap, and it's like you got to go through all that again, and it's like it eventually just started to feel like work. And I haven't touched the game since. I got like 18 hours into it, and I'm like, nope, I'm done with this. So yeah, I feel the same way you do, Thorsten. Sometimes it works though, like with the other game I mentioned. They do a much better job of making you feel like you can do this thing if you keep bashing your head against it.
Marvel
Whereas,
Ultimate Alliance 3.
yeah, the Marvel game, yes, but not. But some games they just don't care.
Well, that mechanic, that's how they do it in Elden Ring, is also to sort of force you back and get you out of boss fight mode for a little bit so that you can work yourself back up into it. And again, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It definitely depends on both the game and on the individual player.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
in practice, it works more often than not because that's what gets people drawn back into beating some of the bosses in, say, the Dark Souls or Soulsborne style games.
Right. So we're giving up on an hour, so I'll just ask the second question I had of you guys. And it doesn't have to be gaming related. Was there anything you took a break from in real life? It can be gaming or anything that you came back to later feeling refreshed about a thing?
Absolutely.
What was that?
Real life. There are, I won't get into it. I'll just say, I'll introduce it like this. In Star Trek, those of you Star Trek fans and have seen the script, they'll say when it gets into the technobabble, it just says tech. So when my sister and I are talking about the frustrations I have, and in this particular case, it had to do with dealing with property owners and disaster areas and people who are contractually obligated to do their job. So I'll just say /tech. But it got so frustrating that my supervisors, it was like, okay, I've done summarized court reporting in the military. You take notes for everybody. Don't speak unless you're spoken to, because they know that I had gotten so frustrated at some point that I would start my conversation, listen, MFer. And when you have people who are on the line who are political appointees that were appointed by the president, it's like not the kind of thing you want to say. And so finally, Fran said, look, when my boss was on the line, she said, you need to take a break or you're going to flip out. And it was just a long weekend, but it reached the point where the job is just so incredibly stressful where I said, if I don't take a break, I'm going to say something that'll get me fired, or I'm going to at one point, I just called up my boss and said, I quit. She said, you've been here 32 years. You can't quit. I said, okay, retire today. So I had to, sometimes when your job is so stressful, you just got to take a break and back off and do something like a Tetris. And I sit there with Tetris Evolve, and I said, there's nothing but the blocks. Nothing but the blocks. Or I meditate. And so, yes, that's what kind of kept me sane, kind of.
Okay. What about you? What about you guys?
Thorsten.
Okay, and I go first because I'm
Thorsten, then David.
I'm relatively through with it very fast. As some of you know, I practiced martial arts for quite a long time, and I took regular breaks from them because sometimes there's a point where you're simply fed up, and it was better to take a break than stop altogether.
Oh, that's fair. Are you back on the martial arts now, or are you on a break right now?
Sadly not. I'm currently searching again. I'm really want to go back in.
Oh, you want to find a new group to do it with?
Yeah. My former groups don't exist anymore, and I'm searching. I'm searching for something new.
That's fair. David, what were you gonna say?
Well, okay, so yeah, we were talking about personal stuff. So, well, something happened last year. I know that I may have said it a couple of times before, and I know maybe Spaz will chip in on this subject here, but I used to be drawing a whole lot. I really like to be drawing. And I will never call myself much of an artist. I just love putting things together. Draw a couple of lines, and then they make a shape of something. It's just that the mechanical function of putting down the pencil and just draw a freaking line. I'm no longer getting the same joy out of it. Ever since what is that? Something like November last year or something like that. Due to the AI boom of art generators, it feels like I wasted my freaking time. So I'm no longer finding the same joy as I used to.
Oh shit.
So
this is why
I try.
No, this is why I hate that it's not AI. All this bullshit. They're calling it AI, but it's not AI. It's just an algorithm.
It's stuff approximation machines.
Yeah, it's like Google search results put out in a different format. Basically, that's all it is.
They take a bunch of stuff and they use it to approximate a thing.
Yeah.
But let me ask you, do you still get joy out of drawing? And if so, you should still do it, even if some AI can, it's like, yes, maybe 1,000 monkeys will eventually come up with Shakespeare, but I want to hear what David H. has to do, so it's like, and I've had that kind of thing before. Now that I know what AI can do, and my teacher just said, are you doing it for somebody else? You're doing it for yourself.
Yeah, I'm also doing it for myself. At least I try to just pretty much every evening I try to just start up Photoshop and just do something. But so many scraps, so many abandoned works. It's never getting anywhere.
You don't have to. That is getting somewhere, doing something. That's still you're doing something. You're using that part of your brain. That is always fruitful, I feel.
Yeah, but I no longer have like the creativity and the energy that I used to have in what is that? 2000.
I mean, that's going to school right now. That's all that energy is probably going to school right now. That kind of makes sense.
That could be true as well.
Yeah, you've redirected that energy to something else right now. That's fine, But yeah, don't let this quote unquote AI bull honky nonsense discourage you, because it's all garbage. I hate it so much. I hate it so much.
Plus, as was brought up to me recently in one of my classes, we were discussing artwork for the book that I'm writing, and it was brought up that AI art cannot be copyrighted in the United States, no matter what system it was come up with. That your artwork can be copyrighted.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of I think there have been some lawsuits about that. Like, people tried to pass off AI, quote unquote AI art as something that belongs that they created, and obviously they didn't. And so yeah, it's I'm really glad all that stuff is failing in court, because that's exactly what they deserve. But I mean, David, it sounds very reasonable to take a break from some kind of creative endeavor like that when you're, as Sin put it, mentally occupied with something else like school. That totally makes sense, and you shouldn't be hard on yourself about it at all. School takes up a lot of mental juice, of brain juice.
Yeah.
And so you gotta be kinder to yourself, man. Gotta be kinder. We all gotta be kind to ourselves. Did anyone not answer the question? Have we missed anyone, or did we get everyone? I don't think we got everyone.
We're technically missing me.
Okay. Do you have an if you don't have an answer for the question, that's fine. But do you?
See, the problem is I have too many.
Okay.
Because what I inevitably end up doing, because I am a very busy person with focus problems, I start doing a thing. I then forget about it for 6 months, get back to it, do some more stuff about it, and then forget about it for 6 months, and the cycle will continue until I roughly finish the thing.
Oh, I've been there so many times. I've started so many things. Space Game Junkie is the one thing that's stuck. Like I
imagine part of that is you being responsible to a bunch of other people, ourselves included.
No, it's the thing that clicked in my brain. Like even before I had this community, even before I had the podcast, even I just found the motivation to keep going. And that's one of the tough things. You know, that's one of the tough things is when you start a thing, you have that initial burst of motivation, and that doesn't always last. A lot of times it doesn't. And that's okay. You know, eventually something will click and something will stick. Don't know. I mean, I didn't know this was going to be the thing. I started like 6 other gaming website endeavor things, like blog things before this, and none of them took, obviously. So it's weird that this is the thing that's stuck. But yeah, just keep doing it. That's what I could say. Just keep doing it, and there will be a thing that sticks. You know? There will be one thing that will eventually stick.
I guess that applies to me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, persistence is so important, especially with yourself. But yeah, no, I've been there a million times where I've started a thing. It's like, yeah, I'm excited about this. 2 weeks later, oh, I'm starting another thing. What about the other thing? What other thing? Oh, that? Oh, forget about that. We're starting this new thing.
I have no memory of that thing.
What thing? Exactly. So, friends, I really hope that in wrapping up, I hope what we've tried to get across today is that you should never feel ashamed for wanting to walk away from a thing and take a break from it. Like I said before, I've seen so many people like feel bad for not getting the joy out of gaming that they used to or whatever. It's like, that's okay. You know, just go find a new thing or walk away from this thing for a while. It's fine. We all have to take care of ourselves before we can take care of others. And our mental health is so important. And sometimes taking a break from a thing and walking away is good for your mental health. And taking care of your mental health is so important, especially in these crazy ass times we live in right now. Oh my God. So, like I was saying to David earlier, be kind to yourself. If you feel like you need to walk away from something, walk away from something. That's fine. You'll find something else to fill that void, or you'll come back to the thing. It's fine. But be good to yourself. Be kind to yourself, because we all have to take care of each other, and we can't take care of each other if we're not taking care of ourselves. That's how I feel about that. So next week, we don't know. Like I said, we have some irons in the fire. I've not gotten any confirmation, so we will try. We'll maybe have a topic. I don't know what that topic is yet. We have a lot of ideas for topics, but we got to choose one. You know what I mean? So next week will probably be another topic show unless some guest comes through. I don't know. But so that'll be hopefully a fun show next week. It'll be a fun show. What am I saying? And then tomorrow we're going to return to, what's it called? Astra Protocol? I keep wanting to say Astro Protocol.
Astra.
But it's Astra with an A, not Astro. It's Astra with an A. Astra Protocol 2, because that game is bananas in the best way. That game is absolutely terrific. For a game that fits on 2 floppies, that game is...
Do not ask what happened to the first one.
What happened to the first... Oh, no, I'm going to ask, because you brought it up.
Yeah, now
I don't know. I just know that there's 2 in the name, so there had to be a first one.
I don't remember. I don't know if you had a story or not. I don't remember what happened to the first one, honestly. I don't remember what happened to the first one, honestly. I never got around to playing the first one. but the developer was nice enough to send me a copy of this one, and it
Was there
is.
even a first one?
Yeah, I believe there was. Hang on, I believe there was. I believe so. Oh, well, yeah, there was, but I don't think it's on Steam. I think that's the thing. I think it was not a Steam release. But the second one's on Steam, and it's on sale right now, actually, y'all. If you want to be taken back to 1983, gaming wise, this is the game for you. My God. It is terrific. So we're going to be playing that tomorrow. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for hanging out. You've been awesome, as always. As I was just saying, please take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Thank you for our patrons, as always. And thank you to anyone who's gotten vaccinated. One of the ways you can take care of yourself and others is to get vaccinated. So if you haven't gotten vaccinated yet, what the fuck are you doing?
I'm wondering how long we're going to keep this one going.
Until it's no longer a pandemic.
As long as it takes.
Yeah.
As long
Fair.
as it takes.
If COVID
Might be a while.
No, it's going to be a while. If COVID hopefully when I was almost going to say if. Hopefully when COVID becomes an endemic rather than a pandemic, and thank you again, Spaz, for reminding me of that word. Then we probably won't have to say a thing about the vaccine. I don't tell people to get their flu shots, for example. Because
Probably should, but
well, you should get your flu shot, but you're a little less likely to die from the flu shot than from COVID at this point.
well, from the flu shot is
From the
will not
flu,
kill you.
excuse me, from the flu. Yeah, I hope no one dies from the flu shot. But yeah, we're still in a pandemic. People seem to be forgetting that. Like I was at a thing yesterday, and like I think it was one of my wife's elementary school concerts. And I think there were 3 people in the audience, including myself, wearing masks, and that was it. People seem to think it's over. It's not over. People are still dying. So get vaccinated.
Hey, let's hope.
Yeah.
I lost a friend to COVID, and if somebody doesn't like the fact that I wear a mask, too bad.
I don't know why people give. Why do you care if I'm wearing a mask? How does that affect
They
you?
feel guilty by proxy.
Yeah, shame. They feel shame. They feel guilty. Exactly. But it's so dumb. So please, if you haven't, my friends, please get vaccinated. Please. And with that, we'll see you back here tomorrow for more Astra Protocol 2. Have a great one, everyone. Bye-bye.